Welcome to the Better Than I Found It podcast. I'm Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor and your podcast host. Today's guest is former Oklahoma State All-American Hunter Mahan. Hunter and I delved deep into his junior career and the circus that was his recruitment. Hunter underscores his dad Monty's influence on his development as a player and also highlights the value of college golf in preparing him for life in professional golf. Hunter, winner of 6 PGA Tour events, at one time was ranked as high as number 4 in the world golf ranking, but recent years haven't been so kind to the 4-time President Cup and 3-time Ryder Cup player. Hunter describes these recent struggles and also what his future in professional golf might be. His vulnerability and openness are both refreshing. What I liked most about this interview was Hunter beaming with pride when he talked about his wife Candy and their 4 beautiful children. Hunter Mahan, professional golfer. Hunter Mahan, family man. I hope you enjoy the listening. Okay, welcome. My guest today on Better Than I Found It is none other than Hunter Mahan, PGA Tour player, former Oklahoma State golfer. And Hunter, welcome, and thanks for taking the time to spend on the podcast with me today.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, this podcast has had a lot of coaches, former players, current players, some players I didn't even coach, but it's really fun for me to get to kind of revisit players that have coached with or played for me. I was the assistant coach at Oklahoma State when you were there, and just to kind of let other people know another side of the person, because all they really see is the pro golfer. I mean, Hunter, people know you from the television, they know you from that, but we know the dark secrets from Stillwater.
We know where the bodies are buried, that's for sure.
We do know where the bodies are buried, but so I won't dig up very much dirt, I promise. But I do want to say thanks for coming on today, and I look forward to talking about a lot of different subjects. But a lot of people think of you as a Texas guy, but originally you were a Southern California guy, weren't you?
Oh yes, through and through. Grew up a big Southern California fan, USC fan. Both my parents are from California, so my roots still feel there quite a bit, and I love being in California. I'm definitely, I think, a West Coaster at heart. I've been in Dallas for like 26 years now, and so this is definitely home, and it's definitely home for my family, and we really enjoy being here. We love the people, love the community. The schools are phenomenal. Just everything that we need is incredibly close, and it feels very secure in this place. And we love being here. But I definitely got my golf career started in California for sure.
You did, and your dad obviously had a big influence in that. And you were 12 when you moved to Texas, is that right? 12 or 13?
I was like 13, yeah.
Okay, 13. You'd already developed quite a golf game at that point. But wasn't it sort of a culture shock going from Southern California to McKinney, Texas?
No question. Southern California golf, when I first started playing tournaments, probably around 9 or 10, was very competitive. There was a lot of really, really good players at such a very, very young age. Really just talented people. I mean, James O and was one of those guys who was easily the best player. And now he's out teaching a short game on the tour, which makes perfect sense because his short game was always phenomenal. And he's doing a great job with a lot of guys, but it was super competitive and guys were really good at a young age. And it seemed like when I got started, I was behind by a few years to some of these guys. But, when it comes to like men's golf, you can see guys grow up a little faster physically, and all of a sudden they've got a big head start on everybody else, but they don't really have a head start. They just started in a different place. And so by the time you guys get up through high school and college, everything kind of levels itself out in terms of talent and size and maturity. So it was a shock. I think just going from California, where it seemed uber competitive and the amount of players was massive. Like, it was even hard to get into junior golf tournaments. I actually went out to the desert quite a bit and played. There was just a lot more tournaments and a lot less players, so it was a little bit more fun. And when I came to Texas, still competitive, but just not as many players. golf here, there's a few months where it's not awesome to play. So it was definitely different. But still a ton of tournaments. North Texas PGA was a great place to play. Then I developed into AJGA events after that. And, I wasn't really a big kid. It took me time to kind of get bigger and stronger and be able to kind of need to hit the distances that I needed to. And just kind of the competition was great and just grew up through the AJGA. And my competitive and I think my game just seemed to get better and better through every tournament I played.
Yeah, it's funny because Texas and California annually produce the best junior golfers. It's just the way it is. And there's obviously a larger population and better weather out in California by and large. So you end up with a lot of competitive players, and you felt like you were behind, but you obviously didn't take long to develop into one of the best junior players in the country here in Texas. By the time I got into college coaching, you were already one of the best junior players. I remember seeing you in Austin at the Tom Kite junior. I think you won that week, and I came back and told Mike Holder about you, and he was pretty impressed. In fact, getting into sort of the recruiting aspect of it, I was Mike's assistant, and either Mike or I saw you hit every shot for over 2 years. And that ought to be against the law, I mean, come on.
I don't know if you can do that nowadays. That could be deemed stalking in college golf, and you could probably get kicked out for that.
You thought it was normal. All these coaches were following you. I mean, it was a throng of coaches. It was almost too deep on the fairway. There were so many. That had to be a circus for you. What was your perspective on that? Because I know what our perspective was. We've got to see Hunter see us. He's got to see us. But what was your perspective?
I was probably a little oblivious at the time to the attention and I think the size and impact of going to college. I don't think you can relate being just a high school kid when everything is, you've got I had my dad there, and my teacher, Randy Smith, at the time was right there. So it felt very secure in that place. And it was amazing that my parents put so much time into me. And we traveled so much for one summer because I played sparingly, but I was a good player, just getting better and better. And then one summer we just hit the road for like 8 weeks in a row. And it was like, it's an investment in the future of my college golf career and going to college, because it's not like college is free. So you're going to earn a scholarship, or you're going to have to, go somewhere and pay and play your way on. I think for me, it was like such a natural little progression of getting better and better and better that it sort of made it easier to kind of, because I felt like I popped, I was a good sophomore, but then I popped my junior year and I became a big hit, I feel like. So I didn't have like a bunch of years of a bunch of coaches following me. It felt like there was a nice steady progression. Ryan Hibble was a great player, and he was good it felt like forever. He was just awesome for a long time. And it was strange because a lot of Texas schools kind of followed me, but not a whole lot of Eastern schools, because they all felt like I was going to stay in Texas or go West, which I really didn't have a preference. I was kind of, I grew up a big USC fan. And then being, obviously Oklahoma State up the road, just a powerhouse forever, was always on my radar, and understood that. So it was it was just a lot of fun, but literally making the decision and having to make a decision and then going, I really didn't go on many visits because I did feel like I kind of was like, I'm either going to go here or there. And in the end, it wasn't actually a circus. It felt more concentrated into what I really knew, kind of what I wanted and where I wanted to be. And even then I screwed it up. I only had two options, and I actually kind of made the wrong choice. So, I had a 50-50 chance, and I kind of messed it up. Luckily I got a reprieve, something that doesn't totally happen at Oklahoma State and under Coach Holder. So, things happen in mysterious ways. And I think I was better for the struggle of kind of going from SC and flipping over to Oklahoma State.
That's interesting. You should admit that is a different perspective. We thought you might think it was the most ridiculous thing ever for all of us following you, but as you're right, as it got down to that last summer, it had been less and less schools because a lot of them bowed out, or you may have told some of them that you weren't going there. But But before we get to the end of that recruiting situation, talk about your dad's influence. I know Randy Smith had a big influence on your golf swing and how you developed it. He's a wonderful instructor. I just think Randy's great. But your dad had a major influence on how you played the game and kind of your competitiveness. I mean, your dad was pretty competitive.
He was super competitive. I think he loved to play golf. And I think I was a little bit of an opportunity of his opportunity to kind of make it and put really the time in. I think he just had a bunch of interests as a kid and didn't really know what he wanted to do. So he liked to surf and play tennis and golf. He even raced motorcycles for a while. He just liked a lot of things. And I think he wishes he could have focused a little bit more on golf. And I think he wanted to help me realize that to get there, it's going to be a challenge. And I want to give him the best opportunity that I can. And maybe, being a dad now, looking back on it, you do really realize that parents really don't know what they're doing. We're just making it up as we go. We're just trying very, very, very best to make the best decisions we can for our children. But no parent, unless you're somehow have a medical degree, a psychology degree, and I have worked with young students teaching a sport or something else, you really have no idea what you're doing. You're just trying to ask questions and you're just trying to do your best to communicate with your child and making sure that everybody knows that we're just trying to help you move along in your life, because children, kids, high school kids or whatever, even college kids, I would call them kids nowadays, they don't even know what's in front of them. They're so living in the moment that it's hard to relate to them and say, hey, we're thinking 5-10 years into the future. And that's something hard for kids to realize. And I think my parents really wanted me to always see that. And so he was just, like I said, he went on the road with me for like 8 weeks and doing laundry, helping me practice, calling Randy if we needed something or, something doesn't look right. He was just there and put in the time and was all in. And they were both my parents were completely all in to my golf and to see it as far as we could take it and see where that would go.
Well, you took it pretty far, obviously, getting to the level you got to. But I remember thinking, because we couldn't tell, and we didn't obviously have personal conversations with you, that
right.
we didn't know what you and Monty were talking about. But we always thought it was Monty pushing him too hard. And but I thought you loved the game so much that all he was trying to do was maybe just facilitate what your dream was. And is that more like what it was, more than anything? Yeah,
I think he was going to push me hard. I think I thought his strengths were I thought he did always a great job of helping me prepare. He's like, let's go in the trees and hit some shots. Let's try this shot. Let's do that. Let's go play. And I think his only downfall was he didn't know quite when to turn it off. Mm-hmm. And let's go enjoy it. Let's just be father-son. Let's not be teacher-student. I think that was just, it was hard for him to kind of turn it off and kind of make the change from, all right, we're going to go grind, we're going to go work, but then we're going to have fun. It was hard for him to kind of do both. And it's hard. It's because it's hard because you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to make a mistake. And I think when we saw, I think around this time too, Tiger Woods was becoming a big deal. His father and his relationship was such a big deal. How hard they worked and, all the things they did. And it was sounded almost militant, even though I remember watching the documentary of Tiger and Earl, which was kind of, it was kind of crazy. I didn't really enjoy it, but I loved their relationship. And you saw that Tiger was Tiger. He was great early on. And you could tell that Earl was just kind of enjoying the ride. And he gave him some stuff, but Tiger, it was obvious that Tiger was going to be great. But it felt like, man, if you're not pushing your kid or making them the very best that they can be at that moment, he might fall off. You just don't know. And so I think he just maybe held on too tight. But in the end, that's totally okay. I like I said, I enjoyed playing golf. I enjoyed the competition with the guys. I thought he did a great job when we had a tournament. We didn't play well. He's like, hey, we're just always going to work and we're always going to practice. We're always just going to try to get better. And the work ethic that kind of got inside of me, I think, was at the time felt like, I don't know if this is too far or not, but at the time, but looking back on it, it was great. I mean, I really had so much fun, and having those times with him that we were so close together were really special. Like, I hope I have I've got 4 kids, and I was an only child. I don't know if I'm going to have that much time with my kids, but I hope I do. I hope I have moments where I can just kind of be with them and just be there. I don't have to, I don't feel like I want to do anything as much as I just kind of want to be there. If they have questions, but I would be there to help and facilitate as best I could. But just to kind of be there, I think was something more special than you realize at the time.
And I think your dad was always there for you. And I didn't mean to say I thought he pushed you too hard. He wanted it really bad because he knew you wanted it badly. And it was obvious. And honestly, when I got to know him when you were playing at Oklahoma State, right, he was one of the best dads I think I've ever seen in the history of OSU golf.
Exactly. That's, I think, like I said, he was just always going to be there. And maybe at times he didn't know how to balance it out, as I said. But man, he was going to be there, and he was going to show his support in the best way he can. And he always wanted me to be the best player I could, but really to represent myself the best way that I could. Represent being a Mahan. We tell our kids, what is it to be a Mahan? We want it to mean something. We want it to be impactful for their lives, that this is what a Mahan is. And these are the things that we focus on. And that's what he, I think, instilled in me all the time. And it could have, like I said, people from the outside, it's always hard to tell, but I never really felt, I felt like we always had a great relationship. And it was always, like I said, it was always fun. And like kids and their parents, right? It's people want this perfect little thing. It's never like that. It's just, it's a challenge, and it's a challenge. But it was, like I said, the time that we got to spend together will last forever. And that was really the whole enjoyment of being on the road together. Was so much fun.
That's great. Well, and you could see you were always pointing towards something, and I think it was to be the best player you could be. Your dad wanted that for you. And in 1999, you sort of achieved that pinnacle when you won the U.S. Junior Championship.
Yeah.
You beat Camilo Villegas, I think 4-2 in the final. I mean, so a lot of pros talk about it. You train and you work and you grind toward a goal, and then you get there. Now what's next? And so right. Talk about that tournament and kind of how you recalibrated after that point.
Yeah. Yes, I remember. I remember vividly hitting a shot underneath the trees, hit it like through the fairway at York, Pennsylvania there. And I just remember hitting this low shot, got underneath the trees, and I hit and rolled up there, and I made birdie, and that, put me dorming. And then winning the match, and winning the U.S. Junior was the biggest tournament. I don't know if it still is. There's so many tournaments and so many, it's evolved over time. But man, that was the biggest one, and to raise that big cup and to be a USGA champion was truly amazing. And to see the names on the trophy, it's like the first trophy you ever really get to see that's like historic. Like all the names on it. You got to see Tiger Woods' name on it a bunch of times. It was so cool to hold in your hand and to kind of see it. It felt like you were really a part of history, more so than you ever thought just being a kid. So that was really amazing. And then I think went to USC. Then I went to, I think I hadn't made my choice yet of going to college. So I was going to, and then the recruiting, I think, was figuring out where I wanted to go to school after that was kind of the big decision. And so that was kind of the next phase, is going into college. And that was interesting because I went to USC. I saw Randy Smith after semester, and I was like, I said, I wanted to see him, want to talk to him. And he thought I wanted to turn pro. And because I think I won 2 tournaments in the fall, and I had no interest in turning pro. I just was in a place that I didn't feel like fit me personality wise. It was something, the structure was different than what I had with my dad, which the structure was so important for me. And I just didn't have any of that at USC. There was just, it was just different. It just wasn't for me. And so I knew I was kind of like, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. Ended up telling the coach at the semester, hey, I don't think this is a good fit for me. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, but transferring is on my radar. And I told him that because I wanted him to know that this could be a possibility. And then I had to end up transferring, and that was a whole another recruiting process. But it really wasn't a recruiting process. I did feel like I just hope Oklahoma State takes me, because that's really the only place. If not, it's going to be interesting. I don't really know where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do. Luckily, I think that decision was pretty quick on your guys' side. And I'm pretty sure coach came to my house and I said, I think I just said, I'm ready to go. I want to go, made a mistake and I want to go to Oklahoma State and be a Cowboy. And I just remember I'm getting up real fast and having a piece of paper, and he's like, well, you just got to sign this right now. Like, I gotta get this. I got to get this in some sort of form of signature. I don't know if it's even legal or what it's going to work, but I got to get something, and then we'll figure it out from there. So luckily that happened, and everything worked out well after that.
It did work out well after that. I remember him also telling you that he was going to make you into a good student at Oklahoma State.
Well, did you come? Was it you and Coach?
I was there. Yeah, I was there.
Okay. I can't. I can remember. It's a long time ago.
Well, I was just the assistant coach. Come on now.
I know. AC. You're just the AC.
Charles Howell gave me that nickname a few years earlier, AC, for assistant coach. And I noticed you latched onto that pretty well, didn't you?
Yeah, AC. It's a great. It's.
It's pretty easy. But I will tell you a couple of things about that recruiting process. One about that meeting with Mike Holder, and the other was when you committed to USC, I was in a funk. I walked around in total depression for 3 or 4 days. Mike Holder had never seen me that way. Because I'd always been in such a good mood. He said, what is wrong with you? And I said, we did everything we could. We watched that kid hit every shot. We thought he was coming to Oklahoma State, and he's going to Southern Cal. What? I don't even know if I'm in the right business. And he said, well, I don't know about that, but you better figure something out, because you're going to lose a lot of recruits through the years. And he told me to think about it for a couple of days, and we talked. Mike didn't do that very often, but he did. And I came back and he said, have you thought about it? I said, yeah, I thought about it. And I've got a 3-pronged approach. I wanted Hunter Mahan coming to Oklahoma State, but he's not going to be here. So here's my approach. You can't get everybody. You get who you're supposed to get. That's who shows up. Number 2, you don't worry about who you don't get. They're playing for somebody else right now. And number 3, you better coach the ones you do get. And he thought, that's pretty good advice, McGraw. Good job. But Mike had told me, you can't worry over this. It's just not going to work. And I've always tried to tell young coaches, when you lose a recruit, it should hurt for about 5 minutes and move on to the next recruit. The other thing is, I remember Mike telling me, he said, Hunter's grades were not as good at Southern Cal. And I contend it's because you weren't very happy. You just wanted.
It was 2 parts. One, I was completely out of my comfort zone in so many ways. And then 2, I just didn't go to class.
Okay.
So that hurt. I realized that if you didn't go to class, that hurt. I put 0 effort in. The change from going to high school where you're living at your parents' house, there's rules, there's kind of discipline is in there. It's built in. It was built in my house. Responsibility, how we're going to do things. And when you go to college, it was like a free for all in terms of what are you going to do with your time. And the school like I said, the place just didn't have the structure that I needed. I just wasn't mature enough to handle everything and to handle myself the right way. I was used to being, my dad helped me so much that I didn't make too many decisions almost on my own at the time. And then it was like, now I have to make every decision. And there was almost too much freedom. It needed to tighten up a little bit. And so that's why Oklahoma State was really the obvious choice, because I knew it was going to be tight. It was going to be a tight ship. And it wasn't just the coaches who were on board, because you're recruiting the certain players that are going to be on board with what you're teaching and what the standard is and what you're trying to accomplish while you're there.
Well, that I think Mike Holder, honestly, I think that was probably the best fit for you because, as you said, you needed structure. Mike was a master at structure. I mean, there
Yeah.
was a lot of that. And his discipline and his toughness, his tough love, if you will, might have felt uncomfortable at times, but I know it was really good for you personally.
Oh, it's great. Like he always had I'm not sure how recruiting was for you, knowing that, I mean, coach had he had, people knew him a certain way. I mean, it was very obvious what Oklahoma State was. And there was a lot of players who left. So it was turnover was, they had some turnover more than maybe other schools. And it was, some kids want to go to different schools for different reasons. I think you went to Oklahoma State to win tournaments, to win, Big 12 championships and win national championships. That's kind of what the whole point was, in coach's eyes. And accountability and discipline for young people is challenging for some of them. And it's, but as you said, there was an incredible balance of structure and not much structure in terms of allowing the players to figure out how they're going to practice and how they do things, and how are we going to become a team sort of at the same time. There needs to be some healthy competition, but we also need to play. We also need to be a team and to push each other to get better, because if we all get better, that's going to lead to great things.
It really did. And, the 2 years you were at Oklahoma State, you were first team All-American both years. You won the Fred Haskins Award, the Jack Nicklaus Award. You shared the Ben Hogan Award with Ricky Barnes. And we haven't even talked about, you almost won the U.S. Amateur there during your time at Oklahoma State. So your success was excellent while you were there. But also it was a shot in the arm for Oklahoma State. We'd had a couple of years of not such good play and so when Mike Holder got a second shot at getting you to come to Oklahoma State, that was a big deal for us because we knew you'd be the shot in the arm we needed. And I'm going to say a couple of things about that. Your teammates, I don't think you ever realized how much they thought of you until you, I don't think you had any idea.
I remember when I left and you guys really struggled the next year, basically with the same team. You added another player. It was an excellent player. But the team fell down dramatically. And so, and you texted me like, you don't know how much you're being missed. And I guess that's what's interesting to me is it's hard to be a leader, because it's authenticity is such a big part of kind of leadership and what we had. But I just remember, I felt like we weren't a very big team, but we were really tight. I think we really, 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 really enjoyed being around one another.
Yep.
And we had just a great time. I think we had a lot of different personalities. We had people from different country, but I think we really just enjoyed being around one another. And that for some reason, it melted just right. Yours and coach's influence. And as coach always felt like, it always seemed like to me that he always pushed the best player, because the best player is going to push everybody else. He's going to pull everybody else kind of with him. And I think, I think I was happy. Yeah, like I said, the growth from the team from when I got there, and myself too, the growth of myself from when I got there and when I left, and the team success from when I left, it was dramatically different. And man, and it was, the guys put in the time and they put in the work. And I think we all just helped each other out through my whole 2 years there.
Yeah, and your 2 years, you had a very interesting group of guys. You had Alex Noren, who would go on to be obviously a world-class golfer. And then you had some guys that weren't going to be world-class golfers. Zach Robinson, and you can't hit more practice balls than Zach Robinson, and Alex Noren tried, and you did.
No.
I mean, Zach worked at the game. And then Chris Clark, a fun-loving guy from England. We had an interesting mix of players.
Really was.
But very close. But I wanted you to hear that or I wanted my listeners to hear that, because they think of this first team All-American and he was up on this pedestal and whatever, but you were down in the trenches with the guys trying to help them get better. And that's because they worked so hard.
Yeah. And I didn't, it stunk. I didn't leave Oklahoma State because I necessarily wanted to. It was just kind of time for me to go. It was my time to elevate to professional golf. But man, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. And I learned, like I said, it was easily the best decision that I made to go to Oklahoma State. And, I got lucky because you guys really took me back. You guys gave me an opportunity.
Hunter. You were a second team All-American as a kid who wasn't happy where you were as a freshman.
Right.
So you were obviously a great player. You were the U.S. junior champion. There was nothing about you that we thought we wouldn't want if that opportunity once you got your release. But anyway, I see what you're saying. You took advantage of a second opportunity, and Mike Holder made that available. And he doesn't do that for everybody, I promise you, in those days. So and you made the most of it.
Yeah, that's what I knew. It was like, back of my head, I'm thinking, I hope that they feel like I'm a fit, and because like you said, I didn't have a great spring. It was, the wheels were coming off for sure, and like I said, not much structure was there. I wasn't really happy. So it was definitely not, I didn't roll in Oklahoma State with all systems firing. So it was definitely a little bit of a process when I first got there, but luckily the everything kind of came together quickly, and we were able to start rolling.
Tell me a comment you made. I think it was in a Golf Digest article several years ago about the best advice that anybody had ever given you, and it was something Mike Holder told you about the way you played and the way your perception was what everybody else saw you as. Do you remember that comment you made?
I don't know. I remember Coach said, I can't, I'm not sure if it's this exact one or something, but I remember, gosh, I thought he had a great quote about telling me about reacting to shots and stuff. And he's like, the way you're reacting is because everyone's watching you and you're telling them, I'm better than that shot I just hit. And we're not concerned about them. We've got another shot to hit. We need to, you'd be like, pick that bag up. We got to go. That shot's over with. It's done. We need to move forward. The only reason you're reacting is how other people are perceiving you. And we're not doing that. We're going to the next shot. We're going to hit the next one. So he always made things very obvious, but there was a deep, psychology in there, right? You don't want to embarrass yourself when you go out there and play, and you feel like so many people are watching you when they're really not. They're just watching golf, and you're creating more of a story than is actually there.
I'll give Mike a lot of credit. He overreacted as a player. He didn't handle himself very well. He threw clubs, he broke clubs, he cussed, he did all those things as a young player. And when he became a coach, he swore up and down, I'll never do that. I'll never allow a player to do that. And so when we saw the way you were reacting in early qualifying rounds, like he said, well, I'm going to have to get control of this. I've got to help this kid out.
Sure.
He did. He helped you a lot. I know, looking back on that time.
Well, I remember when it was my junior year, and I was on the range, and I hit a bad drive, and I kind of banged my club on the ground. And it was like, it was a deer in headlights, because he was right there, and he turned to me and looked at me and just, with those eyes coming at me. And this was practice, this is a practice. And it wasn't even like a team practice. It was just, we were just practicing. He was there. And he just, he nipped it in the bud right there. It was like, hey, next year you can do whatever you want if you're going to be in Dallas or Orlando or wherever you want. But here, when you're in Stillwater, on this range, we don't do that. And he just, it's like, we react better than we do that. We do better than that, and it's when you put that bag on and you put, when OSU is on your shoulder straps and you're playing with, on your chest there's a standard he's trying to teach you for Oklahoma State and for the future. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and I've taken that example through my coaching here at Baylor. It's been when I see a kid who struggles emotionally on the golf course, for one, he's not going to be as good, but he doesn't probably have a future in the game. I've got to help him learn to control that. And so I'm thankful Mike did that for you, and I know you were too. But speaking about your dad, because your dad, I said earlier that I felt like he was one of the best parents I've ever had as a coach. He really was. He understood what we were trying to do for you, and he championed that, and he knew that it was good for you.
Yeah, 100%. it was a complete buy-in basically from my whole family, right? About what coach was trying to do, what my dad wanted. Like I said, my dad wasn't a college coach. He hasn't been doing this for player after player after player. I was like his first one. And so we're both kind of learning things on the fly. And so I think he knew that, but I didn't think he knew, how to present it in a way that sort of made sense, just to tell somebody, don't do that. It's hard to rationalize and to understand the depth of the psychology of, listen, this is why we don't do that. This is why you are doing that. And we got to get over this and move on to the next shot. And so he was, like you said, I think he knew that that's why I think he was just there. His presence was always there to soak up those things and so we can always go over them, playing in the summer or wherever, that we can always go over that stuff. And that is his, like I said, he wanted to help. And so he always was trying to figure out how he could. And so that's, when you have, I think, just a parent who wants to be involved, that's it's a blessing. It really is to have someone who wants to be there and wants to help you in every way he can. And I think having coach there, helped him actually step away a little bit too. And he could just watch and understand, know that Coach Holder and yourself are going to be there we're not having that. This might be we're going to get through this tournament or whatever. I think it was in DSC, it was a little, in Dallas, it wasn't, it was highs and lows, but the process was happening. And I think that my dad totally trusted in you guys into what the plan was and how we're going to go moving forward.
Yeah. And I think I learned a great lesson during that time too, is your best player should be coached the hardest. You have a high amount of responsibility for that player to help him achieve the dreams that he has. So I think we did a good job with you there. And I know your dad did a great job with you. But so you left Oklahoma State after the 2003 NCAA that we hosted at Karsten?
Yeah.
And how long was it before you got your PGA Tour card?
I went to Q school that summer, that winter, and got my card.
So it was just 6 months, 7 months?
Yeah, it was probably, I can't remember the dates, but I want to say it was November in Orlando.
And a couple of years later, you were in the top 50 or so on the money list, and then you won your first tournament at the Travelers. I remember watching that thinking, okay, that's the start we need. That's it. And before you know it, you're on the President's Cup that fall. I mean, what a quick rise. That was amazing.
It was. It's I think, like I said, I'm not someone who, it takes me a little time to transition from kind of place to place. And so it took me a little time to get used to tour life and to figure it out, how to travel, how to practice, how to play, do all these things, and to maintain a consistent attitude each week when you're playing 25 weeks out of the year. And so winning Travelers, I felt like that morning, I felt like I was going to win. I just felt so ready and so prepared of what was going to happen that day and all the ups and downs and all the things that were going to happen. I just felt so ready for that. And winning obviously helped my confidence into saying that I'm able and I'm here and I can do really anything in this game. I just got to keep going on to the next day.
Well, you did a good job of that. Play that President's Cup that year, and then you play the Ryder Cup the next year. You're obviously becoming one of the top players on the PGA Tour. I'm just going to do a few little highlights here, if I can kind of go over it. You've played in 4 President's Cups, 3 Ryder Cups. You've won 6 times on the PGA Tour. I think 2 of those WGCs.
Right.
You've won a little over $30 million in prize money. You were the first player, and I'm not sure if you're the only player, but you were the first player to make it in the FedEx Cup era 8 consecutive years to the Tour Championship, and got ranked as high as number 4 in the world. I mean, that's right there is an incredible career if you just look at it like that, just in that snapshot. What do you think about that? That's about an 8-year stretch right there.
Yeah, it was. Man, I'm proud of that. I think I have so much respect for the guys who play on the Canadian series or play in South America. I've seen some of the kids from SMU here go down to South America and play, and just grinding it out. man, I just feel like, the things that I've accomplished are just, I feel so proud of that. And took a lot of hard work through year after year, through junior golf, through high school, to college to get to those points. And so I mean, I'm so proud of the things that I've accomplished on the PGA Tour in golf and in college. And so standing here today, I feel darn proud of everything that I've done. And to think 39, having my career and everything, I'm pretty darn happy with everything that I've accomplished. And one of the great things in golf, I've gotten to see the world through playing golf. Got to see a lot of people, met a lot of people, and experienced a ton of amazing things. So, man, I feel pretty darn blessed to have done what I have done, and to have had so many people support me along the way, and to have so many great people around me the whole way. It's been a ton of fun, and to have a lot of people share this experience with has been so really amazing. And like I said, I just feel proud to have represented America, Oklahoma State. I was proud at USC, what we did for that 1 year. And like I said, I'm pretty darn happy with what I've done, up to this point.
So you're only 39. I mean,
yeah,
you've got a lot of good golf ahead of you, I think. I know you've had some struggles in the last few years that have been well documented, and you've been vulnerable to talk about them. I don't want to beat a dead horse there, but it's like you're a healthy young man. You're only 39 years of age. There's got to be good golf ahead of you.
There could be. I think, I know right now I'm pretty happy with just being home and being, it's weird to say, but I need to be here. I need to be taking care of my family. And this is kind of just where I want to be right now. So I don't know where golf is in the future, but I do know that I'm really happy to be right here. I hit my limit this year. We went to Truckee, and I said, I'm done. I can't go to another range and prepare for another tournament right now. I'm just done. I just can't physically do it anymore. And so we flew home, and we got there we got in Truckee Sunday, and I said, I got to go home. I said, I'm just done. It was a strange feeling, but it was the most clear thing I think I've ever experienced in my life. I was like, I need to go home. We need to get ready for the school year, and I want to be home and just get into this routine a little bit. And I gave it my all for the last, through the pandemic, played after that, and then played this year. I felt like, my family wasn't traveling very much, so it was just a little more challenging on the road by myself, and then being here. So I just hit my stopping point for right now. And so I feel really good about that decision, because it actually didn't feel like a decision. It felt like it was oddly made for me. And so when I play again, I don't know. But I'm very content right now and very happy.
Well, I love hearing that. That tells me a lot about the perspective you have of life and the importance of family. So tell me about your family. I know Candy, your lovely wife, has had, you all have had 4 children together. So tell me about the whole family.
Yeah. We've been married 10 and a half years. We have 4 kids. Zoe's 8, Miller's 6, Hazel's 5, and we have a 1-year-old. And they're just been the process of seeing them grow from babies to where they are now is crazy. It definitely gives you a different perspective on being a parent and being a child to parents, and to see that relationship flip in a weird way. And it's given me so much more understanding of my parents, and kind of the love I have for them. And this is easily, it's super challenging, that's why having a great partner like Candy, she helps me a ton being a better parent, because she's continually working at it. And we're just trying to be the best that we can be, to figure out how we can help our children the best way we can, and to help them grow up as strong individuals and strong-minded people who can go into the world and basically not have to worry about them or having the world kind of beat them up. They're going to be prepared for all the struggles that they have in life and to go kick butt and whatever they want to do.
Well, it's the most important job in the world. I don't know what's second, but it's the most important job. I'm serious. It's just an amazing.
I don't know what
I just wish more people had your attitude toward it. It's like, this is a really big deal, what I'm doing, raising children.
It is. I think for me, it definitely starts with having a really good partner in Candy, and we both have that mindset of what are we supposed to give our children and what are we not supposed to give them, and how do we balance that? We're a little bit of helicopter parents, and so we need to monitor ourselves and making sure we're allowing them to be silly and fun and walking that tightrope of danger. We were in California, and we were on these little rock cliffs, and my daughter, all my kids, but my daughter especially, loves to explore, and she wants to climb rocks and go see this and find that. And it's like, we're standing there, or I know I'm standing there going, I just see, I see stitches and trip to the hospital in my future. And I have to let them make their own choices and decisions, even at such a young age. And things happen a lot faster. Things have happened a lot faster in terms of them growing up. Like, they've grown up so much faster than I thought they would. You think you've got time before you have to make certain decisions or have to interfere with certain things. And that's not true. It happens really, really quickly. And you can see that their development and their growth happens quickly, and it just keeps happening faster and faster and faster as they get older. And it's a challenge every day to just be and hold their childhood tight, to let them be kids for a long time, because that the bigger they are, the bigger the problems. And so we really want them to be children and kids for a really, really long time, and to just do very, very simple things and just read books and play. They're not on phones, they're not on computers, they're just playing with each other, learning how to have conflict with each other and figure that out. Just all kinds of weird little things that you have no idea what you're getting into as a parent. You're just kind of figuring out as you go. And like I said, being a parent, but having a great partner, we're always able to pull each other's strengths and help each other's weaknesses with each other. Because that is, I'm surely, I know for one, I am not perfect. And so, and she's not, but she's pretty close. And so we're helping each other. She's helping me be the best dad that I can be. And that in turn is helping me be, I feel like, trying to be a better son as well. So it's all, it all works in a weird revolution. But I'm, happy doing it. And it's, it's challenging, but when you can you look through the challenging part of it, it's pretty awesome.
Are any of them playing golf?
No, we've taken them out there, and I'm just trying to see what happens. And I keep some things in the back of my head about, if they do, how am I going to create that and keep stoking that fire, and a little simple technique things, along the way. But right now, they're not interested. But, as I've seen from my kids, things change dramatically in their desires and their wants. So I think we'll be ready if they do. But I do enjoy what they enjoy, and I do like seeing them. It is very, very cool to see your kids play sports and do things. And my son to hit his tennis ball and rip it down the court is pretty amazing to me. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And my daughter creating these little comics and her art and all the stuff they do is blows my mind. So
Vivian, the 1-year-old, is she talking yet?
She's walking around very, very well.
Okay.
I feel like it's going to be a flood soon. Right now, it's just like a little sprinkle of little words. She loves her brother, and so she calls him Bubba. That's probably her favorite word. And so almost every morning she's like, Bubba, where's Bubba? Bubba, Bubba. And so she wants to see him because I think he loves to play with her.
That's awesome. Well, that is really cool for me to hear about your family, because One of the great joys of a coach is get to see the players go on and live life.
Sure.
Their life experiences. It's been very cool, and we still get Christmas cards from you all with pictures of your beautiful family, and we appreciate that. So, well, I don't know what the future holds for me and as a coach, and you obviously don't know what it holds for you as a player. But either way, I think we're both pretty content and pretty good spot.
Yeah, I thought when you got the Baylor job, boy, that made a lot of sense to me. And so I thought that was pretty exciting for you. And clearly you've helped the program quite a bit. But I thought, I'm going to have to stop in one time because, we've driven through Waco a bunch, when our kids go to camp and stuff. And so maybe we'll stop by sometime.
Next time you do, my office is literally 2 miles from I-35 or less, so it'd be pretty easy to get to. Yeah, that's great. Well, Hunter, thanks again for joining us today. You gave some great perspective, and it was great to relive some of those memories of your days at Oklahoma State.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate, obviously, coming on, and love what you're doing, and excited to have seen the things that you've done since you've left Oklahoma State. But hopefully we'll see each other soon.